And good evening, everyone. We are back on Speed Gaming 3 with another match in the Link to the Past Randomizer Spoiler Log Tournament. We are into the bracket stages. Things are getting crazy, and the runs are getting faster. I am Cool Papa Bell 2282. Alongside me commentating tonight is Wolflink. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening, everyone, and I'm doing pretty good myself. Might sound a little different, but that's no big deal. Anyway, folks, we have a very intense match for you tonight. We have g3rd0 versus Kyong. This is game 2 between them. Kyong taking game 1 to a rather rude scene. And we get a rude scene here tonight as well. That's just going to lay the groundwork there. I'm not going to give you any sort of hints one way or the other. But Kyong is the one to watch here, honestly. He is currently undefeated in our spoiler log tournament. 7-0 in Swiss. Won his first game here against g3rd0, who is the A seed, who had to win a tiebreaker match to get this far. This is going to be fairly intense.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about how rude that first seed was. It was basically a forced fighter sword green mail cold stare, which our runners went into with 3 and 4 hearts. So if that lets you know how close to the edge these runners are going and just what a low percent they're aiming for, this should be a great race to watch.
Indeed. In the meantime, folks, we do have our tracker, Yoinker's wife, keeping track of those items up to date for you. And as you can see, because of the spoiler log, we already have the pendants and crystals laid out along with the medallions required for later on. And in case you're wondering what this is, in case this is your first time watching, a spoiler log seed is basically, you've seen that timer taking on Kyong. They've been studying for the past 15 minutes with the spoiler log. They know where everything is in the seed. It's all there for them, and they've been rounding this entire time. And
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and 15 minutes sounds like a lot, but it is difficult, particularly in an intricate seed, to really plan out your entire route in that little amount of time.
We're getting started here, and immediate boots. That's a good sign. Or is it? You can never tell with these seeds sometimes. But yeah, a few other things to note here, folks, as you start their routing here, is that the runners are allowed to watch the restream for once. This is not the normal randomizer restrictions in which they are in their own isolated booth. Because they know where everything is, there's really no secrecy that needs to take place. So they can come in here, watch each other's restreams. They can really do much better. And we get the Bombos medallion as well. And that is required for Misery Meyer.
Yeah, we might even see them trash talking in chat if they feel like it. But some minor route divergence there as g3rd0 heads up to the secret passage right away to grab that Bombos, and Kyong heads straight over to the Sanctuary. And we'll see what Kakariko has. Power Glove and some nice basic fundamentals there. Some rupees and bombs in the well.
Gonna use 100 of them to get the Cane of Burna. Pretty interesting find there. Another nice safety. It's also a good weapon against blind if you really are desperate. Or skill, depending on what your preference. I personally like fighting blind with the cane. And we get a bow.
Can just sort of taunt blind and be like, oh yeah, you can't hit me. Do your best, friend.
No arrows for that bow just yet, but that is still very important to have. Nice 50-50 there from Kyong, getting that free bomb.
And very similar routes so far. Again, just g3rd0 taking that slight detour to grab Bombos, which will be required for Misery Meyer entry. This is our green pendant today, so we'll see if that comes into play.
Well, we got a sword. And we're going to Agina? That's the only thing open right now, so it has to be something there. Capo getting in g3rd0's way. Does get a bomb for it, though. And look, our Moon Pearl. Very nice find.
Yeah, I understand Moon Pearls are pretty helpful if you want to beat this game.
You'd be correct in that assessment, but I'm a little off for my mental state right now. Anyway. Heading over to Mini Moldern Cave.
And looks like g3rd0 was headed back in that direction as well. So picking up that Moon Pearl before heading to the rest of South Shore.
Ooh. Kyong has to be a little careful here. At least the Mini Molderns are dropping hearts. Quite commonly. And the Master Sword has been found. So this is actually a good time to mention here, folks, that this is, because this is a very dangerous game mode to play if you're not that experienced with the game. Because they know where everything is, the ceiling for death is just that much higher because they're not going to be taking as many safeties because they know where they are. They can opt to not waste time getting them.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we saw both of our runners picking up those heart pieces in Mini Moldorm Cave when both of them skipped everything else in Blind's Hut, right? So it's not like they're just kind of picking everything up in the big locations. They're just grabbing the items they want, and they both wanted those heart pieces.
Possibly because they can use the information from the spoiler log to set up a 4 Earth Heart Piece refill later on. We get a heart container there, and the hammer! The hammer was flippers locked. And that's Dark World access.
Yeah, both of our runners grabbing that out of logic. Of course, fake flipper is a pretty easy trick to pull off.
Looks like Kyong's gonna head over here and get bombos now. Maybe something else here to get.
Yeah, it would be very easy to go deeper into Hyrule Castle now that he has some weapons to work with.
That is if there's even anything here to go get. Doesn't look like it. So g3rd0 looks to be just a little bit ahead. But of course, this is spoiler log territory. Even the most minor mistakes could lead to a major lead swing.
Yeah, and these runners are going to be operating on low health, low safeties the whole run, and so boss fights are always going to be some stressful points where just about anything could happen.
Yeah. At worst, you could lose a couple of minutes to a boss. And you can never recover. The High Cave has something for us, apparently. The cape. And the bug net. I'm okay with that bug net, honestly. And yeah, Chad's bringing a good point. g3rd0 skipping the cane here. g3rd0 is a game down, so opting to take less safeties for more speed is a valid strategy. Of course, the counterpoint is you could potentially die a lot easier.
Yeah, and that was already sort of the story of the first match. You saw Kyong taking a little bit more safety than g3rd0 did, and that unfortunately did not work out well. g3rd0 ran into some problems with that 3-heart green male Mothula fight. But yeah, you definitely kind of feel like Kyong is the favorite, and g3rd0 might have to take some risks to try and win this match.
Alright, looks like we're entering Pendant Pod. Our runners wouldn't be going here without a reason. So there must be something here we need.
Yeah, and our first real divergence, too. g3rd0 heading right over to Pod, and Kyong just saving and quitting right out of Hype Cave there.
Could there be something more that is forcing Kyong to go this way? Well, we'll soon see. g3rd0 is taking a Death Warp. I'm not 100% sure that was faster or not. Considering he had to get hit 3 times anyway. Anyway, both runners are bomb us now. Big key in his no location in Blind's house. Titan's Mitts in Palace of Darkness. And there is something else here that g3rd0 wants.
Yeah, going deeper into Palace of Darkness. Those myths will definitely help out. We saw Kyong had to go the long way around to get to this portal over in Kakariko Village. So g3rd0 will have that advantage. His first trip into the Dark World over there. Finds he has no arrows for this Mimic Room, but there's 5 under that pot.
He has to be extremely careful. He cannot miss a shot. Alright, he's good. And that's probably why Kyong didn't come over this way, actually, is because of the arrow situation. Did not want to be soft-locked because of arrows. That could be a reason why Kyong routed this way.
Yeah, since both of our runners, though, picked up the Misery Mire Medallion, it seems like we will get the flute at some point, so maybe Kyong's just planning on heading over later, when he can fly there and not have to walk. We'll see about that.
You're gonna reset the room there to get rid of the hard hat beetle in his way. It's the red one too, which has a lot of health. I think that thing can survive 2 gold sword slashes. And another small key. Kyong just speeding through Thieves Town. And there's something in the Dark Maze. We won't be able to see g3rd0 for a while, but thankfully with some relatively recent changes, we'll be able to see what he picks up now from the chest. Oh no, but g3rd0 takes a death!
Oh, that's so unlucky in that maze when the Kadongos just sort of get you trapped, fire all around you, and you're not quite sure where you are.
And those Kadongos hurt you a lot. Now, something g3rd0 could have done to survive just a little bit, if he's not planning to stay here, is he could have used the Boundless Medallion, which, granted, that would have slowed him down a little bit, but it would have also killed the Kadongos, which would have kept him alive. And then if he was planning to leave, he just save quit. Meanwhile, blind being fought right now. Good first phase. Let's see if we can get the second phase. First hit. Yeah, that is a perfect blind fight right there. Perfect, absolutely perfect. g3rd0 taking another death in the Dark Maze.
Yeah, and he's going to head back in. I mean, if this is the only reason he's staying in pod, it makes sense to just clear it out right now. But I think it might be time to bust out that Bombos Medallion and just get those Kadongos out of the way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Any more time wasted here is just going to just pile on way too much time between the two runners. Candace Tamaria, meanwhile, from Kyong at Sea House. That is required for Turtle Rock, so we do need that. Opting for Cave Strat instead. And there's the flippers. And that's why they fake flipper to get the hammer, I just realized, because the hammer was locked behind the flippers, which means this was an Aga required seed. Because both of the required items for Dark World access were locked behind pod. They dodged Aga. Very nicely done.
Sahabat continuing his streak, another Aga seed, but just one our runners could get around. And Kyong, meanwhile, is going to pick up Book of Mudora off of the bumper ledge there. So that's why we went Hype Cave first, was to have that cape available.
And that would also explain why I went over this way to get rid of Thieves Town while I was over there to get the book. And this looks like a warpath towards desert. Because there's nothing else over that way.
So, question in chat. Yes, the spoiler log format is the items have been randomized as normal, but the runners were given a list of where all the items are. and they had a 15-minute period to study that log before their running actually started. They can refer to the log as the race goes on, if they forget where something is, or need to find some bombs in a hurry or something like that. But yes, this is much more like an NMG run than a standard randomizer.
Yeah, a perfect analogy of this, in my opinion, is this is basically an NMG run of Link to the Past with randomized items and a randomized route. And it looks like we have to visit Desert for something. Desert is a 5/6 crystal though, and we do not actually have the means to finish this dungeon. We are missing a fire source for the Lambolas.
Yeah, so this must be something really vital for Kyong to come here without the ability to finish the dungeon. Maybe, oh, okay, or could just be the flute.
Alright, book required for flute. I can understand that one. We'll have to come back later, but... Actually, combined with what we know, we now have access to Misery Mire in its entirety. Because Kyong does have the Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, so he's probably going to activate this flute, go grab those flippers and Titan's Mitts out of Palace of Darkness. And if he's rushing that flute, it feels like we need something from the Mire area.
I mean, I think that was fairly telling given the fact they got Bombos.
Oh yeah, that was a big hint too.
Yeah. They would not go after Bombos if it wasn't required for something. Now granted, at that time we could probably also assume that it's required for Ice Palace and the fire rods on the boss. But given the fact they went out of their way to get the flute in a seed in which Misery Mire is not required, and the boots were early, that's like all the pieces put together.
And yeah, Kyong is headed to Palace of Darkness right now as g3rd0 opens up the cell in the maiden, or the chest in the maiden cell, out of pure muscle memory there.
Now, Kyong did have the Cane of Burner for the blind fight. Did not need it, but if the fight goes south, g3rd0 will be relying on the cape and does not have nearly as much magic.
Yeah, but we're into the bracket stages of this tournament now. g3rd0 even busting out the hammer for some swag strats there. With runners of this caliber, I do not expect to see issues with the blind fight.
Yeah. It's that third phase that usually trips me up, so you can never be too careful. And a 4th heart piece there, which does give g3rd0 a full refill. Up to 6 hearts now. Kyong at 5. Now, there is one exception here for those who are just now tuning in and maybe are not aware of spoiler log races, is that we gave this a comparison to NMG. However, we do not explicitly play with the NMG rule sets in terms of what tricks are allowed. We do have a racing council that has allowed randomizer exclusive tricks, such as Diver Down and Icebreaker to be used. We may be seeing those later with Ice Palace and Swamp, respectively, being a required dungeon.
Yeah, g3rd0 picking up that Cane of Samaria right as you talked about Icebreaker. Thank you for cooperating, g3rd0.
Both of those tricks do require the Cane of Samaria.
Well, there is a bomb set up for Diver Down, but...
Yeah. I think that's a little bit harder, though, because it's time sensitive. Alright, so we're seeing a trade of places right now. So the route should be converging relatively shortly. Nicely done with Kyong, just footballing that Cadence Mario block. That's the best way to describe it, and just using its position to hit the switch. Very fancy. Well done.
Yeah, and we'll be able to compare our runners in just a second here. As long as Kyong gets through Dark Maze without any issues, he's going to have a decided advantage at this point, since he will basically be ahead of g3rd0 by this Desert Palace dip and the run back to Kakariko Village to activate the flute.
Yeah, and at this point, g3rd0 does now have, or yeah, Kyong rather, sorry, does have the time bits and the flippers. And starting with a trip to 8. Looking to start with Ice Palace.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see that icebreaker a little bit sooner than we expected. One of those mitts to head into here rather than necessarily Mayo right away.
It's always a strange thing when you have to use bombos to get through Ice Palace. But I suppose if they know where everything is, they're not going to be using magic to kill any freezers that aren't necessary. Which, I think there's only one more other room besides the boss that it would be required in.
Ooh, and that's definitely a mental mistake from g3rd0 there. The big key in Desert Palace was in its vanilla location. And when Kyong grabbed that flute, he went ahead back and got the big key as well. g3rd0 was going to have to re-dip Desert Palace to get that big key before he can complete it later.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of an issue, but maybe there's a reason for that. We don't know just yet. It doesn't really matter at this point in time that he has the big key, because he doesn't have a fire source to fight them off in the land walls anyway. So at worst, it's only about maybe a 30-second difference. Also, there's Icebreaker on Kyong's end if you missed it.
Yeah, as long as g3rd0 comes back with Mirror, it won't be much of a time loss, but these little things definitely can add up, particularly in races with very small margins, like spoiler races tend to be.
I want to remind you once again, folks, that this is a game 2 between these two runners here. Here they raced yesterday, in fact, to decide who is going to get their first game here. And it is a best of 3, so if Kyong wins this... Is it a best of 3 or is it a best of 5? I forget.
I believe best of 3 at this point.
Okay, so best of 3, which means if Kyong wins this, there is no game 3, and g3rd0 is out of the tournament. So that also explains why g3rd0's routing was so aggressive as well. He's basically on a do-or-die situation, which can affect you in terms of your routing. We now see both. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we should say that we are in the top 8 of this tournament, so these are all really high-level runners with not much separating them, so...
A death here for Kyong would put g3rd0 in a very good spot. One hit is all it will take for Kyong to die. This is a fight you don't want to get trapped like that!
Ooh.
That is going to flip this race on its head. g3rd0 now looking to be in the lead. And Kyong doesn't have as much magic as before. He may not be able to make it all the way down.
Yeah, I think he should be okay with just some magic pots that are available in the dungeon. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a concern as he's working his way back down to Cold Stare here. g3rd0 also going to grab the big key out of that chest, which unlocks a heart container and a few rooms.
Kyong should be fine here.
Yeah, and this is where Bombos does come in handy, because it is much easier on your magic bar for fighting Cold Stare than the Fire Rod is.
Yes, my only counterpoint is the Fire Rod is a much nicer weapon to use after you break the shell on Cold Stare.
Yes, very true. Cold Stare Puffs are weak to fire, but apparently not fiery explosions, which makes no sense.
Kyong did not get the clip. Doing some select buffers. I don't know what Kyong is doing here.
I think that was probably an attempt to save magic and not have to put down another Cane of Samaria block. I have not seen that particular setup before, but that might be what he's thinking about.
Start with this. Getting out the cape as a safety. Smart. Does have a little bit more help to work with than Kyong does as well.
Yeah, Cape is definitely the safer option here. You can break out the hammer to be able to do a little bit more damage at a moment's notice if a puff gets in your way, but the Cape is definitely the safety option.
Yeah, he's watching. He definitely knows he's ahead right now. So definitely wants to maintain this as best as he can. 3 puffs down, triple kill for g3rd0. That makes him clear, and there is the hook shot. Great find by g3rd0. That will save him a little bit of time.
So nicely done by g3rd0 there. Yeah, boss fights were the big story in the first game of this matchup, and they are playing a big part so far today as well.
Yeah, so this gives g3rd0 maybe about a minute and a half, I'd say, an advantage at the most. Depends on how well Kyong's Cold Stare fight goes. g3rd0 is off to Misery Mire. Kyong very carefully fighting Cold Stare now. Does not want to take another death. You notice that he's hugging the ceiling of the room there. That is preventing the icicles from doing their splash hitbox. 1 puff down. Nicely done with Mire's second room there. Cold Stare down for Kyong.
And I didn't want to say it out loud, but he was within 1 puff collision from dying that entire fight. He could tank 1 ice block, but no damage from Cold Stare itself. So nicely done getting through the second round of that fight.
Yeah, 9 hearts is the magic number. There's the mirror in Misery Mire. And g3rd0 is just leaving. So if there's no fire source here, then g3rd0 will have to do desert just to get the key. Let's see what's in Mire's here. There's something here that he wants. 10 arrows. And a bottle of the bee in it.
Meanwhile, Kyong is taking that hook shot straight up Death Mountain. So is going to head over to Paradox Cave. g3rd0 is going to show us Checkerboard Cave next.
Checkerboard Cave has the Tempered Sword. That is a combat advantage for g3rd0. Will it be enough to help haven't maintained his lead. Also ending up the mountain.
That's an interesting choice that... Ooh, Fire Rod on Kyong's side. So now Kyong can head back to Misery Mire and Desert and clear that out. I was about to say, an interesting choice that Tempered Sword was available, and both runners went into Ice Palace with only the Master Sword. I think in Kyong's case, he was going for efficiency and only making one more visit to the Mire area. But the fact that g3rd0 went there without a fire source meant he maybe should have done that sooner and had the Tempered Sword for that Cold Stare fight, just to make things easier on himself.
It also just could have been simply a matter of just get this done while you're get Ice Palace done and out of the way, because there's no real place to route it. Alright, so this is once again g3rd0's next trip to Desert. The routes are going to converge a little bit, but g3rd0 needs to go and get that big key for Desert.
Yeah, and we will see how much that little bit of extra time will bring these two runners back together.
It won't be that much with the boots and the mirror. Does have to re-kill all of the Popoi enemies, I believe their name is, in that room. And just on this, based on this alone, I think it's safe to say Kyong is once again in the lead. Definitely catching up with some speed there. Actually, no, it's too close to call.
Yeah, because Kyong...
He's gotta go to the Tempered Sword. So yeah, no. g3rd0's still ahead here, just by a little bit.
And a minor thing, g3rd0 has a little bit more magic to work with, which is going to matter here in a second when Fire Rod is their best option for dealing with the Landmo fight. Again, a very minor thing, but the sorts of things where 5 or 10 seconds here and there can really add up.
More interested in the fact that g3rd0 picked up a bottle with a B in it than anything else. I don't see why he would do that. Potentially for a potion or something? We do have Turtle Rock coming up in the near future. So having that safety wouldn't be that bad.
And I mean, we do have the bug net, so grabbing a fairy from somewhere is always a possible safety as well. Although I don't expect either of these runners to take the time to actually buy a potion.
Well, we'll see what's going on here. g3rd0 does not have enough magic to kill all the puffs. We get a short dive from the third Lammolas. Very nicely done, though. And half magic on the boss. Kyong with a slightly slower fight, doesn't have enough magic to fight the Lammolas with fire rod shots. They would be two-shot by it. So we'll have to resort to spin strats.
So yeah, just one extra cycle in that Landmo fight for Kyong. So we'll be right behind g3rd0, as it looks like we are headed into Swamp Palace now. We are fully equipped for it.
I gotta say, I just realized something. Ether and Ice Rod for Goma. We need the ice magic.
And we've already dipped 2 of our pendant dungeons. We'll see if we head back to Eastern to find something else we need.
time for a Swamp Palace dip from Gyardo. Swamp is, of course, one of those dungeons in which it's a really nice to-go mode, but there might be enough required item here that prevents us from doing so.
Yeah, and the big thing with Swamp Palace, though, is if it's on the left side, then it just becomes a pain in the butt to check. Anything else, the chests are pretty much right along your path back toward the boss.
Pretty much. Yeah, we do have plenty of resources going forward, so both runners are sitting pretty nicely here in this last end of the seed here. Gyardo is at 8 hearts, and that is not quite the magic number of health that you want to be on for green mail. You want to be on 9 hearts. And to explain why, is simply because the highest source of damage in the game is Ganon's contact damage, and it does 8 whole hearts without a mail upgrade. And we're about to see Diver down here now from Gyardo. Getting between that and the block. And there's the armor, which means that he is now safe from any sort of one-shot that could happen. That blue mail lowers that Ganon threshold down from 8 to 6. Kyong doing the more... Well, I guess I would say the original version of the Diver Down.
And also picking up that blue mail, of course, since it's right there, but that seems to be all we're getting out of Swamp Palace. Other than this crystal, which I guess is pretty good.
Oh, nice poke strats! It's all before puffs in that one pass. It is not going to be a 0 cycle, though. But that is still really nicely done from Gyardo. Let's see if Kyong can match. And a quick kill in phase 2. Ice Rod on Cold... Or, I said Cold Star, almost like Cold Star. No, Argus had it! And that means we are looking for Ether to finish up the seed here.
Kyong...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Kyong also almost getting that 0 cycle Argus. That's pretty much the hardest trick to do in this game. So seeing both runners get that close to pulling it off is really impressive.
I'd say 0 cycle Turtle Rock or Trinex is a little bit harder, but yeah, I can understand that as well. And they're getting the Bombos tablet. And it's Ether, that's go mode.
So all the ice magic hanging out around Swamp Palace. And Gyardo is going back to village of Kakariko to do Skull Woods. I was like, why is he going back here? Oh yeah, we haven't done Skull Woods yet.
Neither runner has done Skull Woods. And this is actually a very nice route here. They just finish up this last dungeon that's not on the mountain, then they do Turtle Rock, then Hera, and then they go in for Ganon's Tower.
And so Gyardo has about a 20-second advantage at this point. 1 extra heart, and I know chat will yell at me if I do not point out that he also has a bee in a bottle, which is clearly the best item you can possibly have in this game.
At least for a joke against Mothula. It's actually fairly effective against Moth. I think, anyway. I'll admit it has been a while since I did beast rats on Moth. I don't remember how effective they are.
I think they're significantly less effective than Half Magic Fire Rod or the Tempered Sword.
Pretty much. Off down for g3rd0. That is crystal number 5. Kyong having a lightning fast Moth. That just ate a little bit of that lead away.
Yeah, Sword Spin was at 38.35 for g3rd0, and let's see for Kyong, gonna be about 38.45. So down to about a 10-second difference between these runners as they flew up to Death Mountain with just Turtle Rock and Hera between them and Ganon's Tower.
Yep, last 2 crystals, and then the big key hunt in Ganon's Tower, which, knowing me, is always a fun time.
And there's a lot of race left for these runners to show off their execution. Obviously, Ganon's Tower is an incredibly execution-heavy portion of the game, the Ganon fight itself. This is going to be a really close race down the wire.
Would you say this race is going to be sub 55 based on what we have left?
I would think so, particularly with knowing where that Ganon's Tower big key is going to be. Ooh, g3rd0 getting dead rocked here, and Kyong takes the lead.
Oh, dead rocks, they are so annoying. Close to call us within seconds. Animation at 40.08 for Kyong, 40.11 for g3rd0. It's a 3-second difference. Any minor mistake right now is going to be critical.
Yeah, and this is where the comparison to NMG makes sense again, right? Because if you're a top NMG runner and you get 8 blue balls on AGA 1, you're just going to reset, because that's how small the margins are that you're dealing with. So it's just going to come down to a matter of seconds between these two runners at this point, you have to believe.
Kyong missed the hook shot. They're tied. Literally, I can't even tell how close they are now. g3rd0 out of the room second. Kyong going through. You just have to get magic. Man, the leaders changing back and forth. They are room for room here in Turtle Rock.
And all these tiny little decisions coming back into play. That blue cane choice that Kyong made 40 minutes ago really came into play there, letting him just cane dash through that room with the crystal rollers.
Something's here that Kyong's gear is going to get. It's the compass. That's not required. So Kyong must have at some point looked at the Turtle Rock again just to make sure the key routing was there. Knew that chest wasn't anything important, whereas g3rd0 just picked it up because it's on the way.
Yeah, and that 15-minute planning period is not always enough to plan all of the key routing and things that you have to do in dungeons. So a lot of times you will have to look back at that during the race and g3rd0 just unfortunately getting caught out there, opening a chest that he did not need to.
That does open up the lead a little bit, but there is still room for error for Kyong to make a mistake and have g3rd0 take the lead once again. A Moldorm fall, Ganon fall, all these factors matter. Silver arrows being available at some point matter. Gold sword, as minor of a difference it is on the Ganon fight, can matter. And yeah, as Chad's pointing out, even the Herapod, if someone doesn't get it first try, the other one does. That also could be a major factor. I think... I was worried for something that g3rd0 might have got tripped up by the dark room here, but it looks like that is not the case. Kyong just taking the key and running.
Yeah, clean laser skip from Kyong there. The same out of g3rd0, to no one's surprise.
Alright. I'm a little worried about Kyong right now. For obvious reasons. 4 hearts are going up against Trinex. g3rd0 has a little bit more safety with 5 hearts. Let's see how the fight goes. Getting behind in Trinex to try to get as much damage as possible. Both runners have a similar execution. g3rd0 does miss a snipe on the fire rush head, but that's no big deal. Nice quick done. Or quick kill there. Kyong gets another quick kill there.
Yeah, and both runners get...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, both runners getting the double spin on that third phase as well. And we will check these crystal timers.
Sword spin for Kyong. 44.53, I'd say. $45.03. 10-second difference in Kyong's favor. And it all comes down to Hera. And the bait key for Ganon's Tower. Herapot could matter here. Setting up the spin speed version of it. Quickly done. And we don't have much time here, folks, so I'm going to go in and get something started that I don't... we have a game with us play. I'm just going to explain it real quick. We have 22 chests in Ganon's Tower, only one of which can contain the big key. And normally we have you guess a number in chat, but because the runners know where it is, that's not going to be that important just because the number's going to be low. So instead, give us the location in which you think the big key's going to be. The specific chest.
And meanwhile, it took Kyong less time to beat Moldorm. Oh, fall from g3rd0.
Oh, that's huge. That's going to add another, like, maybe another 15 seconds or so. I don't even know. This is too close to call.
But Kyong blazed through that Tower of Hera. I was about to say, in less time than it took you to explain the Ganon Tower guessing game. g3rd0 gets his revenge on Moldorm there, but Kyong is already opening up Ganon's Tower right now.
Alright. We got some good guesses here for which chest location will have the big key. There's the magic powder on the torch, though. Someone actually guessed the torch. Nice safety, though. Definitely worthwhile.
Looks like Kyong is keeping an eye on the restream there, because I'm not sure he would be grabbing that safety otherwise.
top left, but it's not in Stalfo's room.
Yeah, just stop for a couple of keys in Dark Magician's room. g3rd0 is going to follow along that same path.
To answer question chat, g3rd0 does not have a potion. g3rd0 has a B. It's not in a fire bar room. Let's see if it's in Fire Snake. Oh. So if they're going this far out of your way, it could be random room. And I like the routing here for getting the key in there. And there's the big key, folks. Right there in random room top left. We had actually a couple guesses for bottom left. So close.
And actually, we got Rokubi AX and Fancore both called Rando Room top left. So shout outs to them.
Indeed. So I think it's safe to divulge a couple of things about the seed. What if we say we start with the armor? And I'm not going to say with the silver arrows, folks, because I want you guys to guess. Gannon will tell you where they are. So yeah, the armor, that was actually passed by, I believe. We didn't pick it up. For those wondering where the armor was, it actually was over back on Laser Bridge, along with the bottle with the fairy in it, on the lower two chests.
So yeah, two pretty close safeties that neither of our runners wanted. Again, just going as fast as possible at this point.
And yeah, as Vince said, Lamp was in Eastern Palace. Shovel was somewhere, I don't remember. And thank goodness there wasn't anything reported on the digging game, because that's something we actually get as well from the spoiler log. And the digging game was 29 digs this game, all for a heart container. If this was a randomizer, that would have been a miserable time.
And Kyong making quick work of that gauntlet, using those fire rod shots nicely on Lanmo 2. As g3rd0 is just finishing up his gauntlet here. Ooh, just misses that arrow shot on the Stalfos.
Now, there's also the matter that we still don't have the fourth sword, and I don't think either runner was going to get the fourth sword, to be perfectly honest. They passed that in Swamp Palace. Where was it? Big chest. Where was Big Key? Big Key chest. So they had to go all the way to left side just to get the fourth sword. Hard pass on that one. That was a no-brainer. Was it the Biggie just for that? Did I get him backwards? I probably got him backwards. Let me double check that. Oh no, it was the big chest. Big key chest had the big key. So yeah, I was right. The wording threw me off there.
Very nice Moldorm 2 fight there from Kyong. Has the hook shot out. I was wondering if he was going to show off another hover like he did in the first game, but again, with a little bit of a lead, is definitely going to play it safe.
Yeah, and the fairy that I didn't even mention was in the pre-Moldorm chest there. That's a huge safety for Kyong. And in case anyone was wondering where the fourth bottle was, because we have mentioned 3 of them now, the fourth one was over in Sahasrala's house. But sadly, it had nothing of importance, so we were going to pass on that regardless.
And Kyong into the very RNG-heavy Aga 2 fight.
And there we go.
Yeah, 3 cycles, very nice there.
And Quake was all the way over in Eastern Palace along with the map. And folks, any last guesses for where the silver arrows are? Because Ganon will tell us where they are, and as soon as Ganon mentions them, I'm going to say where they are. And not a moment sooner.
Kyong dropping into the standard NMG Ganon fight. A little bit less health, but better armor than you normally see in an NMG run. Gets the Trident spin off, so it's set up for 1-1.
Right. And folks, just to give you an idea how the Ganon fight works, it's 12 slashes of the phase, or 6 spins. We're seeing slashes here on phase 2. Afterwards, we enter phase 3, which is the ground stomps. Hit Ganon before he teleports away, and after 4 hits, we enter the darkness technique where the silver arrows come into play, if we have them. Because we don't have the silver arrows, we have to keep the torches lit, and we have to hit Ganon before he teleports away. And that is a 2-frame window. You may be able to see the frame when his arms raise up. But 12 spins on that and when it's over. And the arrows were in Dark World, folks, and I'll tell you this right now, no one guessed it. And I don't think anyone was going to guess Vanilla, but they were.
And Kyong getting that all-important torch glitch there. This allows you to get off 3 spins per cycle of lighting that torch. And
yeah,
with
very
g3rd0
clean fight here.
I was going to say, with g3rd0 hot on his heels, he needs a clean fight to stay ahead in this race.
Now, I would warn picking up the silver arrows if it wasn't for the fact that Turtle Rock was our Crystal 5 here, so they were not getting that before going up the mountain, and they were not leaving the mountain to go get silvers before Ganon's Tower. There's just no way it was happening. But that's the fight there. Ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs in chat for Kyong, who will be advancing to our final 4 here in the tournament. g3rd0 will unfortunately be going home, but a great round all the same. And folks, that is GG, and Kyong has finished with an official first place time of 1 hour, 9 minutes, 59 seconds, and bear in mind that does include the 15-minute study period, so his actual time is 54 minutes, 58 seconds, a sub 55. Well done from Kyong. g3rd0 is now finishing up his Ganon fight. Maybe one more hit. There it is. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your GG's for Kyong. This was a very close race. Well done by both runners. It could have gone either way at the end.
Yeah, less than a minute between these 2 runners, showing off great execution. So GG's to both runners. And yeah, even though g3rd0 is out of the tournament at this point, you have to give him congratulations as well. Won that really tough matchup against Faraime to make the top 8, and overall a really good showing in this tournament.
Yes. g3rd0's final time was 1 hour, 10 minutes, 47 seconds, taking into spoiler log study period, which means his final time was 55 minutes, 47 seconds. And we are joined by both g3rd0 and our winner, Kyong. GG's to both of you. What an amazing race that was right up until the end.
Oh, GG.
GG's.
You guys were room for room in Turtle Rock, and it was just a back and forth, or the lead changed every now and then, and there was a couple of key points that actually turned this game around a couple times, even. Walk us through your routing here. Let's start with Kyong.
It was a bit hard to route this seed for me because of all the items inside dungeons. At least the way I try to route things makes it harder to plan things around, so definitely made some things harder than it should, I think. In the end, it's very possible I should have just gotten tempered before ice and double dipped that area instead, but
Yeah, I went for tempered before ice, and then I aborted the mission because I thought, wait, this won't work for some reason, but it would have worked. So
my head originally, my plan was to do like ice swamp mire, but that obviously doesn't work because of where the mirror was, and that was basically why I ended up doing ice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we both did that kind of wrong. Like, the optimal thing was getting Fire Rod from Death Mountain, then getting Tempered, and then doing Ice. And I think you went to Ice before Tempered, and what did I do? I got Fire Rod after Tempered, so I had to kind of double dip my area to get to Desert again. I also forgot to get the key there, that was kind of stupid.
Yeah, both of you did not come out of this deathless. g3rd0 taking the first steps there in the Dark Maze, and then Kyong taking the depth to Cold Stare, which at that point did flip the race on its head and put g3rd0 in the lead, albeit for a very brief time. So, yeah, and then when you got to Turtle Rock, you guys were room for room. It just mattered to minor movements here and there.
I'm not particularly great about bombos only there for the timing of the spin, and that caught me a bit off guard and ended up getting a 4 hard hit right away, and that just makes everything so much scarier. That was that pretty much.
Yeah, I hate that as well. I just spin a little later than I think I should, and it kind of works out sometimes. Still get hit. It's kind of weird because I never really practiced that as well.
I mean, after game 1, though, Master Sword Cold Stare seems like a luxury, so...
Yeah, I guess. I mean, my fight was horrible, and I think Kyong died, so it wasn't optimal for him either.
Yeah.
It's just kind of... I'm just comfortable with NMG strats, and everything less than that I'm kind of winging, and it shows sometimes.
Yeah, I think the biggest roadblock on this seed was, honestly, I think was Ether. Just because of just how convoluted it was to get that. There was no clean routing to do it other than just going to Swamp.
Yeah. Just calling ALTTTPR out. I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, it's kinda like, how do you say? Not angry, but not happy with how I died. On the second time as well. I also wasn't sure if Bombos works on those guys. I think it does, but for some reason I thought it wouldn't, so I never did that either. I think it was Quake that doesn't work, but I always forget.
Well, Kyong, you will be moving on to, I believe, the semifinals of the tournament now because we only had 8 runners. g3rd0, you are going home. Did you at least enjoy the tournament? You got this far. You can't be...
Yeah, spoiler races are like the best way to race render, I think. Like, at least for me, it's the most fun way. And I'm giga retiring from now, as some people might already know. So I'm happy to go out in a format I at least enjoyed. Even though I'm not really happy with my performance in this best of 3. It's still cool.
Right. So, folks, once again, you get your in chat for g3rd0 and Kyong, but stay tuned because coming up in a matter of minutes here, actually, is we actually have another race for you here between Relkin and Pika Pals. That'll be their game 1 here in round 1. And then join us tomorrow for Relkin vs. Pika Pals game 2, but that is currently restreamed to be determined. And of course, make sure to follow my co-commentator, Cool Pavaville, and our tracker, Yoinker's wife, who kept the items of the day for you, did an excellent job as well. And you can give me a follow too. I've been Wolflink0370, and from all of us here at A Link to Best Randomizer Spoiler Tournament, we will see you all next time, and thank you for watching. Have a good night, everyone.